Hey Eagles, Miss Boucher here. If you know me, you know that I absolutely love math. And in this activity, I want to show you how you can use mathematical thinking to design a beautiful picture. So oftentimes we think about math as only being used for calculations or problem solving, but it's actually used a lot in art and design as well. So this is going to be one example of how you can do that. Our end goal is to create a stained glass window or flag design that uses congruent and similar shapes, plus parallel, perpendicular, and intersecting lines. I'm going to teach you what those are as we go. So for this activity, you're going to need a piece of white paper. It doesn't matter what size. If you have grid paper at home, you could use that as well. You will need a pencil, an eraser, a ruler so that you can draw nice straight lines. You'll also want some colors. You can use felts, pencil crayons, paint, whatever you have at home. And then you're also going to want to find some shapes that you can trace. I have circles here that are all different sizes, but you could use squares or rectangles or a combination of different shapes if you like. Now, these circles that I have here, we call them similar. And that means they are all the same shape. They're all circles, but they're different sizes. So if I use these different objects and trace them in my design, I'm going to have similar shapes in my design. But I also need to include congruent shapes. Congruent shapes are shapes that have the same size and shape. So that means that in some cases, I'm going to have to use one of my circles and trace it more than one time so that I have shapes that are the same size and shape. But I'll show that to you as we go. So your first step is to draw your mirror line or your line of symmetry. You can do this artwork landscape style like this, or you can do it in a portrait up and down like that, whatever you like. It's up to you. I guess it depends on if you're making a window or a flag and what you want it to look like. I'm going to create a window design and I want mine to be portrait, but you can do what you like. So start by drawing one symmetry line or one mirror line using a pencil, because you're going to want to erase this afterwards to add to the effect of your design. You can draw a horizontal line going across your page so that whenever you draw something in the top, you're going to draw a matching mirror design in the bottom. Or you can draw a vertical line of symmetry like this. So whenever you draw something on the left side of your page, you need to draw the opposite mirror image on the right side. I think I'm going to do mine in a vertical line. So I'm going to measure across my page and I'm just going to estimate here. It doesn't need to be exact. It's about 22 centimeters. So I'm going to make a mark at the 11 centimeter mark because 22 divided by 2 is 11. So that means that that is halfway between the left and right side of my page. So I made a mark at the top, a mark at the bottom, and now I can line up my ruler on those two marks and draw a nice straight line. Another way to do this would be to just fold your paper in half, either hot dog or hamburger style, and that will create a line of symmetry for you as well. I just wanted to draw my line so I don't have a crease in my page, but it's totally up to you. So now I'm going to start drawing my lines. So I'm going to start with two parallel lines. So those are lines that run in the same direction and stay the same distance apart from each other. So I'm just going to keep it pretty simple here. And I'm going to draw one line here. That's one ruler width away from the edge. So that means on the other side of my page, if I line my ruler up in the same way and draw another line, that creates two parallel lines. So I have two lines that are running in the same direction, and every point along the line is the same distance apart. And it meets the requirement that my design is symmetrical because I have one on each side of my mirror line or my line of symmetry, and they're the same distance apart. So I've met the one criteria of having parallel lines. Next, I want to create some perpendicular lines, and those are lines that cross over or meet at exactly 90 degrees. So they form a perfect square corner. And I kind of like that I'm starting to form a frame here. So I think I'm going to add two more parallel lines that are going to create perpendicular lines here. So I'm drawing a straight line across my line of symmetry. So that's like adding a line here and a line here that mirror each other. So I'm keeping it symmetrical. And I'm going to do another one down here. So now these lines meet at exactly 90 degrees. They form these perfect square corners. So now I have perpendicular lines, and I've got actually two sets of parallel lines running opposite each other. Now I need to add some intersecting lines. So those are lines that are going to cross over each other at any angle other than 90 degrees. So they cross over, but they don't form a perfect square. And I think I'm going to add a few of those. So I'm going to find where the center of my page is, this direction. Just going to put a little mark there and here. So this is how I'm doing my design. Yours could look completely different. I'm just getting creative with how I'm going to draw my intersecting lines. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line that cuts across here. And then I need to keep it symmetrical, so I have to add another one here. So it's almost like I've added two triangles. And you can see this angle here, where these lines meet, it's not a perfect square. So that means these aren't perpendicular lines, these are just intersecting lines. And I'm going to do another one down here. All right, so now I have parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and intersecting lines, and I've kept my design on the left side of my page perfectly similar with the design on the right side of my page. Now I need to add congruent and similar shapes using these objects that I found earlier to trace. So I got lots of different size circles before I started because I wasn't quite sure what I was going to want to use and how to make it all fit. So I'm just leaving myself with some options here. So I'm going to start by drawing some congruent shapes. So that means shapes that are the same shape and same size. And I think I'm going to use the smallest circle first. And I'm going to add a circle into the center of this triangle here. And we're doing this all in pencil first in case you need to erase and try again or you want to change your design. All right, so I've added a circle to the left side, which means I need to add a circle to the right side. And I'm going to line it up so that it's the same distance away from this mirror line. All right, so I've got two shapes, two circles traced. They are the same shape and same size, so they are congruent. And I think I'm going to add two more down here at the bottom. Because I added one to the left side, I also need to add one to the right. Okay, so now I have 4 circles added to my page, 2 on each side, and because they were all traced with the same object, they are congruent. They're the same shape and same size. Now I want to add a similar shape. So that means it's going to be the same shape. It's still going to be a circle, but it needs to be a different size. And I'm going to do that with just this bigger size circle here. And I'm going to add that in these middle triangles. Added one to the left. So now I'm also going to add one to the right, keeping it the same distance away from my line of symmetry. Like that. So now I have congruent shapes and I have similar shapes. Same shape, different size. Finally, I think I'm actually going to add some shapes or design that cross over my line of symmetry. And as long as you have the same matching shape on both sides, even if it crosses over, as long as it's right in the center, it's still symmetrical. So I'm going to take, actually I'm going to use this circle and I'm going to line it up so that it is right on the center of my line of symmetry. And I'm going to trace that. So that I have a shape or a line that crosses over my line of symmetry, but it's an exact mirror image of each other on either side. So it's still symmetrical. And I'm going to add one to the top of my picture as well. Making sure it's perfectly centered on my line of symmetry. Like that. And then the idea is just to keep going and keep designing and adding symmetrical shapes. You can add more lines if you like and create a beautiful stained glass window or flag design. right, once you're finished with your design, you're going to look back over it and see if you can identify all the different pieces of geometry that you've included. So check back and make sure that you have just one line of symmetry, that you have congruent shapes, and you have similar shapes. See how many lines you can identify that are parallel or perpendicular and intersecting. Once you've identified all the geometry in your design, you can start coloring. Make sure you color in a way that maintains the symmetry of your design, and also think about how you can use colors to highlight those pieces of geometry you included. Well, there you go, Eagles. A beautiful stained glass window or flag that's filled with hidden math and geometry. When you're all done, make sure you hang it up in your window for other Eagles in the neighborhood to see. Have fun. Miss you guys.